Hi, Bill 1911 here. Today I'd like to talk to you about something that's very important to us, and that's your safety. Do not attempt any of the things you see on our videos until you have thoroughly reviewed and understood our safety procedures. Also, if you're under 18 years of age, do not attempt any of these topics without the consent of your parent or guardian. Thank you.
Hi, Bill 1911 here, or at least my hands are here. Today we're going to talk about the Model 92 series Beretta handguns. Now I have two examples here today that are a little different from each other. This one is called the Model 92S. Now it's a bit of an oddball because of where the magazine release is located. On most handguns, you'll find the magazine release is right here at the back of the trigger guard, right where my thumb is, okay? On this particular one, the Model 92S, it's right down here on the bottom of the handle, on the bottom of the butt of the gun, okay? That's where your magazine release is. So it's a bit odd. You'll find this more commonly on pistols that are manufactured in Europe. However, it is on this gun. Now what that means is that magazines designed for this gun will not work in this gun, okay? These little catches right here in the magazine, these little slots, are what the magazine release catches in to hold the magazine into place. Well, as you can see on this one, it doesn't have any. The catch on this one is in the bottom of the magazine, clear down here. So essentially, these guns are actually pretty much the same in their operating systems. They're the same in the way they come apart. There are a couple of differences on the Model A1. The Model 92A1 has a rail down here on the bottom where you can mount a flashlight or a laser or whatever you'd like in this small Picatinny rail that's on the bottom. Okay? Other than that, they disassemble the same, and the controls, other than this, or other than the magazine release, are the same. So we're only going to take one of them apart to show you how to disassemble and clean it. So with that, I'm going to set one of them aside. So let's get started. As is always the case, we'd like to remind you to make certain that there is no ammunition in the gun that we are working on. We would also like to remind you to make certain that there is no ammunition present in the work area. Okay, so this particular firearm is one that I really like. The way it comes apart is so simple and so elegant. These Model 92s, they're just a really wonderful piece of engineering. Now, if you will look right here, there is a lever. Let me get some light on it so we can see it a little better. All right. There is a lever right here, okay? This is the disassembly lever, okay? Right here is a little tiny button that goes all the way through the gun to this button right here. This is actually part of it. So when we push this button in, it will allow us to rotate this lever downward. Now when that happens, the gun just slips apart. That easy. All you have to do is press that button and pull that lever down, and she comes right apart in your hand. From there, we're going to remove the recoil spring and guide rod. And then we're going to take the barrel out. Now, there is a locking lug on this barrel that holds the barrel in contact with the slide, and that is right down here in these two little channels, here and here. We're going to, by depressing this button, that's going to pick that locking lug up out of position and allow us to move the slide forward. Okay, then we can pick it up and pull it out of the gun. Very simple. Okay, this gun is just about ready to clean. Now, when we want to take these locking lugs out, we lift it up and slide it to the side and it will come out. That's how we get that locking lug out. And from there, we can start cleaning. Now, there are several devices that are good for cleaning. One of them is called a ferrule, and it kind of looks like a giant eye of a needle, and it screws onto the end of our cleaning rod the same way that this jag that I like to use does. The thing I don't care for with the ferrule is that it doesn't fit tightly inside the barrel when we clean the bore of the gun. Okay, so when they fit tightly, it really scrubs that inside of that barrel out for you very well, and that's what I want. So we're also going to need a cleaning solvent. Now, this is a powder solvent. It is military surplus, and I use this because I'm familiar with the product and it's very inexpensive. And since I clean a lot of guns for myself and for other people, I wanted to cut my costs. So this is a military surplus rifle bore cleaner. It also works on pistols. We're also going to need cleaning patches. All right. We're also going to need a gun oil. Now, I always recommend an oil that is specifically rated for firearms. Some firearms contain certain parts that are made of plastic, and certain oils can affect those parts in a very negative way. They can cause them to break down and crumble. They can cause them to swell up. And the problem is, you never know for sure whether an oil is going to affect them until you put it on them. All right? So you put the oil on those plastic parts. Now, the gun designers know about the oils that are recommended for firearms. Okay? And they use plastics that are designed specifically for gun oil. It isn't going to hurt them. So, for that reason, I don't recommend using WD-40. I've never heard of a problem with using WD-40, but I just don't like to take the chance. So, I recommend a purpose-designed gun oil. So, let's get started on the actual cleaning. Okay. Now, we're going to go to all of the places that we can see where burnt powder and dirt can collect, down in here, okay? We're going to try and get into all the little grooves and crevices that we can. Now, I'm using just the little tip of this jag just to push them down into those crevices, that patch into those crevices, to clean them up. And I'll show you in a minute that we're going to get quite a bit of dirt out of this thing. Alright, so, come back here. Now, as you can see, there's quite a bit of dirt in this gun. Now, I shot this recently, so it's going to be dirty. So we're going to go through everything we can find and clean as much as we can and get this thing as clean as we possibly can. Now, after we finish cleaning the slide, once we get dirty, we just get another patch, wet it, and continue the process. Now we're going to clean the outside as well as the inside. You do get some burned powder will collect on the outside of the gun. Not a lot, generally speaking, but you will get some. We're also going to do all the little nooks and crannies that are on the frame of the gun. Get as much out as we can. Alright, that's starting to look like we're getting there. Looks like there's a good bit of dirt down in this magazine well, so we're going to get in there as best we can and clean it all up. Alrighty, yep, there was quite a bit in there. From there, we're going to continue cleaning until we've got all of these parts that we took apart cleaned up. Now, this gun is actually comparatively simple. There's not a whole lot to it to clean. So this should go fairly quickly. All right, now, on the spring, the best way I've found to clean the spring, let me get a new patch, is to simply fold the patch and slip it between the coils of the spring, like that. And then I'm going to kind of wrap it around the wire, and I'm going to crank it up and down on the spring, and that's going to clean the entire spring, just like that. Now, when you get to the end, the windings compress on the end. They come down to a close point right there, and it's going to be real hard to get your patch through there. So if you want to fight with it, you can, like that, but you don't have to. Sometimes you get a little fiber in there if you do. All right, so we're going to clean the outside of the barrel, just like we did everything else. We clean it inside and out. All right, all little nooks and crannies and rails. All right, now we're going to clean the bore. Now, I just used the outside of this patch, so I'm going to turn it inside out and use the inside of the patch. Now, on this jag, there's a little tip right here that we're going to physically stab through our cleaning patch, and that's going to hold it in place on our cleaning rod. And there it went, right through. Okay. So now we're going to take this and push it through the barrel. Now, it's a tight fit, so you got to push it a little bit to get it to come through. And as you can see, took a lot out of the inside of that barrel. We're going to repeat this procedure as many times as we feel we need to get the bore clean. Okay, I'm going to do it again right now. And then I'm going to show you a trick for how to look inside the barrel and see clearly what you're doing. It's pretty dark inside that bore. So I'm going to show you how to light it up a little bit. All right, and we'll turn our patch over one more time. Turn it inside out. Stick it right back on our jag, right through the same hole. And run it back through the bore. Now, when you are cleaning your bore, it's important to go from the chamber end of the bore. That's where the end where the bullet goes into the barrel, okay? Something that can happen when you're cleaning from the other end is that you can bang your rod sideways and actually damage the crown of the barrel. So I recommend against cleaning muzzle first wherever it's possible. Now, if you're cleaning a revolver, because the frame surrounds it, you're going to have to go in through the muzzle. But on a semi-automatic, I always recommend cleaning breech first. Okay, there we go. So, now I'm going to show you how to look into that barrel and see it a little more clearly. As you can see, when you look down into that barrel, it's pretty dark inside and hard to see. So what we're going to do is we're just going to take one of these nice clean white patches and we are going to reflect the light right up into that barrel with that nice white patch, and that allows us to see right up into that barrel. You can see the difference right there, how much brighter it is. And so after we've inspected it and we can see that it's clean, okay, it looks pretty good. Now we can start lubricating and putting the gun back together. So this little rod that sticks out through here, we're going to need a little drop of oil on that. So I'm going to get my oil now and get to work on that. Now, when you're oiling a gun, you don't want to over oil it so that it becomes slippery and you can't hold on to it. But you do want to make sure that wherever you've got a contact point where you can see, you see how this is shiny right here? Right in here. This part being shiny right in here shows you that there's some wear from metal going back and forth on that point. You can see more shiny little spots in here. Any place that's shiny, you're going to want a little drop of oil. Again, don't drown it, but a drop. Okay. All right, now, this part that we took out before, the locking lug, fits into this little channel right here, okay? Since that's a contact point where two pieces of metal rub together, we're going to put a little drop of oil right down in there. Okay. Then we're going to put the lug back in. There it went. Just gave me a little bit of a hard time fitting in. Alright, so once we've got that back together, we're going to oil our spring. Now, oiling springs, you can put a little drop on it here and here and here and all the way down the spring and kind of wrestle with it to get it all covered. I found probably the best thing you can do is just put a couple of drops on your fingers like that. And then take that spring and just rub it all over it. Get it all lubed up. Okay? Just like that. Now, most of the oil is going on the outside of the spring, which just does need to be there. But to ensure we've got it on the inside, I'm going to put a little drop on our guide rod. Okay? Like that. Okay? And once that's lubed up, and we put these two back together, everybody is lubed together. Alright, so let's put the oil now in the little places we need on the slide. Now, in these rails that the slide operates on, we're going to need a little drop of oil front and back. We're going to put oil down in there. That is where this safety catch rotates in and out of place. Okay, so there we go. Now, we got that oiled up. We're going to put a little drop of oil right back here on the firing pin. Now, that will filter down through the firing pin to the firing pin spring and get everybody lubricated in there. Okay, and that's that. I'm going to put a little drop on this end as well. Okay, now, there's another little piece right here. It runs along here. This is called the extractor. What the extractor does is it hooks around the end of the cartridge case and drags it out of the chamber when the slide goes back. We're going to want a little drop in there as well. Come on, get in here. Alright, there it went inside. Alright. Now there is one other little part right here which is almost impossible to see. There's a little rod that comes up through here and it's got a little spring on it. It's right here. Alright. Now we're going to put a little drop of oil in there and make sure it runs down into that spring and keeps all that lubricated. Again, small drop because otherwise you're going to be too slippery to hang on to the gun. Okay. Now, it looks like we've got just about everything oiled here. There is an area, I hope you can see it, right along here that shows a little bit of wear. That's where the hammer drags on here when it's cocking it. Okay, so we're going to put a little drop of oil on there. Any place where we see shiny metal, we're going to want a little bit of oil. Okay, now our slide is oiled. We're going to do the same thing here. Every place where we've got moving parts, where we can see that parts move, okay, we're going to want to put a little drop of oil on those moving parts. All right, this one moves, the hammer moves, all of that, the trigger moves, the release to take the gun apart with moves. So all of this needs to be a little drop of oil where it moves, okay, right here. Okay, a little bit in here, a little bit in these slide rails. Alright, we'll let that run down in there. We're also going to get a little bit on this magazine release down in here. Alright, now we're going to take now a clean dry patch and we're going to make sure that we clean up any excess oil that we've got on the outside of the gun where we're going to try to be holding it. Alright, so we're going to lubricate now the outside of this barrel because you can see the shiny spot there where it's been wearing in place. So we're going to put a little bit in here. Alright. And I'm just going to kind of rub it all over it here. Alright. And then we're going to slip it back into the frame. And it drops right into place. Okay. And there we go. Now we're all the way in. Now we're going to put our recoil spring and guide rod back into place. Now, before I do that, right here is where that guide rod's end is going to hook into place. You'll see a little bit of a rounded catch in there for it to rest in. Now, this is spring loaded, so you've got to push it all the way up into place and hook it right there. Okay, once that's hooked into place, all right, now we can slide the slide right back together. Okay. Once we push it all the way back into place, we flip that lever back up and it's all locked back together, cleaned, lubricated, and ready to go. Simple as that. As always, we'd like to take this opportunity to remind you to use your gun safety rules. 1. Always keep the gun pointed in a safe direction. A safe direction is not static. It changes as your environment does. 2. Always keep your finger off the trigger until you're ready to shoot the gun. And 3. Always keep the gun unloaded until you're ready to use it. Use it is defined as when you have 100% control of the firearm. If you found this video to be helpful and informative, please Don't forget to like us up above, subscribe down below, and please make sure you come to visit us at askbill1911.com.